Chapter 2. On her phone at the park, Kaleigh opened up an application to the Physical Therapist Assistant Program at Harris Tech, the school she had found to be the most affordable with virtual class options. The online application listed a Dr. Reynolds at Summer Shores Hospital among the approved supervisors. Dr. Reynolds would be able to assist Kaleigh as she earned her prerequisite 10 observation hours. As she double-tapped the hospital's phone number to dial it, her thumb twitched slightly. This program would take her one step closer to her dream. After Kaleigh typed in the right extension, Dr. Reynolds' receptionist answered. The receptionist was able to schedule Kaleigh's first volunteer hour for this Thursday afternoon, after her morning shift at Hydrangea. Kaleigh let out a breath. So far, so good. Kaleigh texted Lana soon after, making sure to mention that it would only be an extra hour of babysitting over the next few weeks. She also thanked her profusely for the help, knowing that Lana would not be thrilled at the additional obligation. Staring at the screen as she anticipated Lana's response, Kaleigh noticed the time at the top turned to 1 p.m. Already? She glanced up. Aaron met her gaze, waved at her, and continued to climb up the play structure's rock wall. But he had played for an hour already in the heat, and he wasn't sprinting up quite as fast as usual. 5 more minutes, baby, she called, and he nodded. Confirming her observations, Aaron's limbs seemed heavy when he trudged to the car. He passed out in his booster seat on the way home. Kaleigh smiled at him in the rearview mirror and parked the car in front of their apartment. That's weird, she thought, noticing that Lana's maroon junker wasn't in the adjacent space. She wondered why her mother hadn't mentioned this morning that she was going out. Outside, Kaleigh slung her backpack over her right shoulder and positioned her sleeping son over her left. A little snore escaped his puckered lips, and she chuckled. She locked up the car, then keyed into their dark apartment. Kaleigh opened the living room blinds, since sunshine illuminated the living room much better than the dingy floral lamp she had picked up at a yard sale. As she gently lowered Aaron to the couch, a folded piece of printer paper on the coffee table caught her eye. The fold was too crisp to be Aaron's handiwork. She opened it up to read Lana's scrawled words. Kaleigh, I found a man who will take good care of me, and I'm moving in with him. I know that sounds bad, but I have always taught you to be responsible for yourself. I hope that you can show your son how to take charge and make life work for you. Ma. Kaleigh dropped the note like it had caught fire and watched the paper flutter to the carpet. Running away to live with some new loser was her mom's idea of setting an example. As if Lana hadn't already taught Kaleigh independence as a kid. When Kaleigh had to forge signatures on her school permission slips or ask a friend's mom to pay for her soccer uniform. No, Lana was never there for her in all the ways she needed. But at least when they pooled together their meager resources, Kaleigh had a small degree of relief. If she was counting pennies with Lana's beauty business earnings going toward the rent, and if Kaleigh was unable to pick up overtime hours with Lana's occasional reluctant babysitting, how were she and Aaron going to survive now? Kaleigh felt thick walls of hopelessness close in. Her breath hitched in panic. How could she do this to us? Aaron stirred on the couch, and Kaleigh snatched the note back up from the floor. She crumpled it into a ball and threw it in the garbage, then collapsed in a kitchen chair. Collapsed like all her plans for the future just had. Aaron's sleeping form rustled again, and Kaleigh sat up. No, there's no time to waste, she thought. She hunched over the table and scrolled frantically through her phone's contacts, though the short list of names would surely confirm what she already knew. She was alone. She swiped right past Jackson's number, not going there again. Then she texted Mariana Reyes, who'd been nice enough to trade shifts with her before at work. But after a moment, Mariana's disappointing response came through. She was going on a beach trip with her family this week. Mommy, Aaron called. Kaleigh locked her phone and looked up thinking, I'll come up with someone by Thursday. Yes, sweetie? Where's Grandma? Her pulse jumped. Grandma decided that she wants a bigger place to stay, so she moved out. Now you can have her room all to yourself if you'd like." "No thanks. I'd have bad dreams if I didn't sleep with you." "All right then, maybe we'll make the extra bedroom into a playroom." He didn't seem enthused. "Does Grandma want to live somewhere else because she's tired of watching me?" he asked. Horrified that Aaron had seemed to pick up on Lana's oft-repeated grievances, Kaleigh leapt up and wrapped her arms around her boy. "No, baby, this isn't because of you. Grandma has a hard time knowing what things are important sometimes." She pulled away to stare into his eyes. "But that has nothing to do with you." Aaron nodded, but his silence frightened Kaleigh. He took leaving too well for such a little boy. She wished that she could play the roles of father, grandmother, and friend so completely that he would never have to doubt how much he was loved and never feel as if he were missing out. But there was only so much of her to go around, and that truth left her feeling wholly inadequate. Regardless, Kaleigh pasted on a radiant smile. "How about some ice cream?" That got through to him. Aaron's face lit up. "Before lunch? Really?" She pulled a carton of orange sherbet out of the freezer. "We sweat a lot at the park. I think we deserve it, don't you?" Aaron nodded vigorously as she set out a cone for him. If only all of her problems would be so simple to fix. On the way to Summer Shores Hospital, Kaleigh took a deep breath and prepped Aaron for what was about to happen. "Mommy's going to follow around a doctor today to see what I might be doing for a job." "Are you going to be a doctor?" "No, more like a doctor's helper, if I can finish all the classes." "You can finish. You're so smart." Kaleigh smiled for Aaron's sake and hoped her smarts would be enough to save them today. She knew Aaron would behave himself, but for good measure she reminded him, "You'll have to stay with me and be quiet, except to say hello and answer any questions you're asked, okay?" "Okay." Kids aren't allowed to work in the hospital, but let's see if they can make a special exception for us. What's an exception? An exception is when people treat us differently than the rules say to because we need extra help. I'll be really good. I know, honey. Kaleigh took Aaron by the hand through the hospital parking lot and checked in with security. The guard struck an intimidating figure. He was nearly as wide as he was tall, but he took the time to chat with Aaron. He printed out a badge for them both and directed them to an elevator past the hospital cafeteria. After riding up to the top floor, Kaleigh checked in with the floor's receptionist. The woman eyed Aaron from behind a wide table. "Miss Taylor, I thought you were a PTA applicant?" she asked. "Yes, that's right." "I'm afraid it's against hospital policy for trainees to take additional guests into the patient rooms." "I understand. I was wondering if I might please speak with Dr. Reynolds?" Recalling the doctor's kind face on her website photo, Kaleigh risked seeming impertinent. Dr. Reynolds's About Me blurb had mentioned caring deeply for patients of all ages. Maybe she would be willing to hear Kaleigh out. If not, Kaleigh wasn't sure what her next step would be. "She's in with a patient right now, but I'll get my colleague to check for you." "Thank you." They took their seats on the gray-blue waiting room chairs. Kaleigh tapped her nails on the seat's metal arm and tried to shake the sense that her world was falling apart. She didn't want to scare Aaron. She sat taller as the receptionist waved over another worker and whispered in her ear. "It'll be just a moment," the newcomer called to Kaleigh. The nurse disappeared through the wing's double doors, only to return with who Kaleigh assumed was Dr. Reynolds. The doctor's expression was friendly, albeit confused, as she pushed a pair of black spectacles over her barely contained updo of pale, frizzy hair. "Dr. Reynolds?" Kaleigh rose and the doctor nodded. "I'm Kaleigh Taylor. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. My babysitter left town, and I don't think she's coming back. I don't have any other childcare options. I wondered if I could take my son with me today." "I'm so sorry, but I'm afraid that's impossible. We'll have to reschedule." "He won't make a sound." She raised a skeptical eyebrow at that. "Even if we obtained a patient's consent, The liability would be significant. He won't touch anything either. In truth, the poor child was standing there like a statue, trying to give his mother a fighting chance. I don't mind if these two step into my appointment. A familiar, irritating voice wafted over from the other end of the waiting room. Really, it will take my mind off the exercises. Kaleigh couldn't believe she hadn't recognized Jackson when she sat down a moment ago. In her defense, he had been facing away from them, wearing a backwards-facing baseball cap that covered his dark hair. This guy is unbelievable, Kaleigh thought, always around when I embarrass myself. You two know each other? The doctor asked. How should I respond? This is my latest mistake? My thorn-in-the-side coworker? Oh yeah, we're close friends, Jackson said, and smiled broadly. Kaleigh wouldn't contradict him this time. Dr. Reynolds tapped her lip and then sighed. All right, since he's in a private room, you two can sit in on Mr. Green's appointment and get 1 hour's credit for today. But you'll have to figure something else out for next time. Unfortunately, we don't offer a nursery service for volunteers. Maybe try one of those online nanny finders. Of course, Kaleigh nodded, grateful that the doctor had granted her at least a little more time. Dr. Reynolds turned to Jackson. You're up next anyway. She scanned her keycard at the doors. You all can go into room 4 while I grab his chart. Not meeting Jackson's eyes, Kaleigh steered Aaron down the hall and to the room's spare seat. Aaron happily accepted the muted game console she pulled from her bag, the product of her Christmas overtime. Then Kaleigh retreated to the wall, eager to show that, despite her unorthodox demands, she was prepared to listen and learn. Jackson sat on the treatment table, his massive legs dangling off the end. Dr. Reynolds entered. How have you been feeling? Great. Have you been doing your exercises at home? Every day. Let's see how your range of motion is progressing then. Kaleigh leaned forward as the doctor led Jackson through a series of leg stretches, occasionally instructing him to bend his knee a little more or gently pressing his shoulder down to correct its position. It was awkward, watching her coworker basically conduct a workout session in her presence. She wasn't sure what prompted Jackson's need for physical therapy, but he seemed in perfect health to her. Don't you dare ogle him, Kaleigh told herself. You're at work. Kaleigh's favorite part of the strengthening exercises was when Dr. Reynolds gave Jackson a band between his knees and made him scuttle from wall to wall like a crab. She had to bite the inside of her mouth to keep from laughing. After inspecting Jackson, Dr. Reynolds said, All right, your knee is progressing well. You're clear to resume all normal activity. I'll send your release form to... Great, thanks, Doc. Something akin to fear flickered beyond Jackson's eyes, and then it was gone. Weird. Thank you for letting our volunteer observe today, Dr. Reynolds turned to Kaleigh. We'll talk more at our next session, when you have a sitter in place. Mrs. Clemens will take care of your paperwork. Kaleigh nodded. Thank you so much. Come on, Aaron. Aaron hopped off his chair and dutifully followed behind. Jackson tailed them back to the reception desk. Did you have a nice time? She bit back a retort about how thrilling it was to wonder if she was ever going to have the chance to see another session. Instead, she settled on a comment from lighter territory. I did, and may I say it takes a very secure man to do yoga. Jackson stretched his back and groaned. Yeah, I've never been more flexible. I think I'll try goat yoga next. That I'd like to see. Name the time and place. I'm all yours. Ugh, forget I said anything. Mrs. Clemens stamped Kaleigh's log sheet for the full hour, which was generous considering that Jackson's appointment hadn't taken that long. Still, the column of remaining empty boxes stared up at her. How many hours do you have left? Jackson asked, as if he heard her internal freakout. 9, but we are encouraged to do more to get a competitive advantage. Kaleigh shook her head, thanked Mrs. Clemens, and headed for the elevator. You're trying to be a physical therapist? A therapist's assistant. The elevator doors closed in front of them. The small space smelled of new paint, doubling the suffocating sensation of playing 20 questions with Jackson. "You know," he fiddled with his wristwatch, "I could help you babysit." "That's not an option." He met her stare. "Why is that not an option?" "I don't trust you." They stepped out of the elevator after it dinged on the ground floor. Jackson gestured toward the cafeteria. "We can sit right here until you're done." "You're going to come to the hospital once a week to hang out in a cafeteria with a little kid." "Why?" "I know you think I'm a horrible person. I hurt you the last time I tried to date you." He held a finger up, asking her to let him finish. "I shouldn't have talked to you and Ava at the same time. But I'm not trying to manipulate you into going out with me again. I've almost given up hope on that one. I do care about what happens to you, and I want you to get those hours. No one works harder than you. And if this is something that you want to do for you and for your son, then I want to help you do it." She couldn't believe him. Guys had lied to her all her life, and just because Jackson had found all the right words didn't mean he could be counted on. Yet, what other choice did she have? Kaleigh glanced at the cafeteria workers, and then at the security guard who had taken the extra time with Aaron today. Maybe if he worked here often, he would agree to keep an eye out for her son. Kaleigh would make sure the officer knew the particulars of the unusual child care agreement. One mother leaving one child with one adult who is not allowed to take him off the premises. "I'll have to ask Aaron," she said finally. "It's okay," Aaron chimed in. "You can go, Mommy. It will be boys only." Evidently, he had followed their whole conversation. Kaleigh sighed. Aaron's enthusiasm might make things harder. She would have to ensure that he knew the details of the situation as well. "All right, Green, you start next week." "I won't let you down, khaki pants," Jackson said, staring down at her uniform. His toothsome grin matched his elementary sense of humor and laid a whole new layer of doubt on the whole adult supervision thing. As if he was beginning to sense her moods, he schooled his expression, gazed into her eyes, and said, "I promise."